The video game industry has traditionally targeted a demographic of teenage to adult males. In spite of this, the fighting game genre has provided some of the strongest and most iconic video game characters ever conceived that also happen to be female. Among these is Virtua Fighter's very own Sarah Bryant. In this installment of Virtua Fighter lore, we will explore Sarah's character traits, homages to her legacy in other Sega games, her storyline, and some of her most devastating fighting moves. Let's get into it.
I assume you're ready.
Sarah is often depicted as a bright and optimistic college student. In her free time, she enjoys the thrill of skydiving and practicing martial arts, although she is also known to spend prolonged periods of time relaxing at the beach. Sarah looks up to her older brother, Jackie Bryant, for his achievements in racing and his prowess in Jeet Kune Do. She is also known to mask her true feelings behind a pleasant smile. Her admiration for Jackie is mixed with a tinge of competitive resentment, and her desire to spar with Jackie is motivated both by affection for her brother and the yearning to surpass him by defeating him in one-on-one combat. Virtua Fighter, along with many other Japanese fighting games, provides the blood type of each character in the roster. This is due to the blood type personality theory popularized in Japan. Sarah is stated as having an AB blood type, which is intended to convey that Sarah is an intelligent and adaptable fighter that can be quite critical and unforgiving of her opponents. This is demonstrated by her inclination to talk down on her opponents when they fail to meet her expectations.
Better run home to Mama now.
Sarah makes appearances alongside her brother Jackie as a playable character in Fighter's Megamix for the Sega Saturn, and as a guest character in Dead or Alive 5. She is one of Sega's greatest fighting game icons ever, and this fact is solidified by references made to her in other Sega franchises. Her trademark outfit, dubbed the VF suit, makes an appearance in Hatsune Miku Project Diva 2nd as an outfit worn by Vocaloid Megarina Luca. In AM2's Virtua Cop, there appears to be a statue of her featured at the end of Stage 3, just before the boss. This seems to imply that the crime syndicate, Evil Incorporated, is either a subordinate arm of, or is in some way associated with the Judgment Six, the malevolent group of corporations sponsoring Virtua Fighter's series of world fighting tournaments. A connection such as this has led fans to postulate that Virtua Cop and Virtua Fighter take place in the same universe. What's more, there is another claim that the Expert track in Daytona, USA has a curve that is named after Sarah. I couldn't figure out which curve it was for sure, but I'm guessing that it's this one. The plight of being a video game programmer is not something that I can boast an intimate knowledge of, but I can imagine you would have to be pretty deprived to look at a curvy piece of track and think of a woman.
Everyone's gross and they all smell like piss all the time. I miss my family. I miss my laptop. I masturbated to an extra curvy piece of driftwood the other day.
Also, Sarah's backstory is so interesting that a digital manga about the estrangement between Jackie and Sarah Bryant was produced for the Sega Saturn on GameWare Discs Volumes 2 through 4. I recommend checking it out over on iPlaySega's channel. There's also a video clip of iPlaySega explaining what the manga is about. Let's take a look.
It's about a brother and a sister that fuck.
But that wasn't the right clip. Anyhow, Sarah is known for being a vicious fighter that even Virtua Fighter's greatest combatants are wary of.
Just like how you said, she's like a fighting machine. She has no feelings, no emotions. I can see it in her eyes.
This may be a bit of personal opinion on my part, but Sarah Bryant may actually have the greatest latent combat potential of any Virtua Fighter character. In fact, there is an alternate version of Sarah present in a Japanese Pocky Slot game known as CR Virtua Fighter Revolution, in which J6 succeeds in unleashing the feral proclivities lying dormant within her psyche. This version of Sarah is known as Beast Sarah, and appears to be a boosted version of Sarah wearing a red trench coat and sporting some scary special abilities. While I'm not sure if this is considered to be canon, her Beast Sarah costume does show up in Virtua Fighter 5 and Dead or Alive 5. Also, some online sources such as Giant Bomb and Watch Mojo have claimed that Sarah is the CEO of the Bryant conglomeration, but I have not been able to corroborate this claim as of yet. Sarah Bryant was born July 4, 1973, in San Francisco, California. As the youngest daughter of the wealthy Bryant family, Sarah has always adored her older brother and often frequented his racing competitions. After becoming suspicious of the circumstances surrounding Jackie's near-fatal car accident during the 1990 Indianapolis 500, Sarah begins her own investigation into the cause of the crash. Just as she began to find answers, J6, the syndicate behind the sabotage, kidnapped her. This must have been done with great difficulty, as the weapons research arm of the syndicate began to take interest in Sarah's considerable fighting abilities. They would choose Sarah to be the next candidate for the Dural project, and began intensive brainwashing in order to turn her into one of their formidable assassins.
Droid C, damage report, 764.
That's even better than I expected.
792, 826, 914. Remarkable.
Oh, you are a great one indeed, Sarah Bryant.
With her innate fighting senses brought to life through this process, the researchers of J6 entered Sarah into the World Fighting Tournament with programming to take out her brother Jackie. After gathering data on Sarah from the first tournament, the J6 researchers discovered that she was still not completely under their control, as manifested by her hesitation to carry out their orders in the previous tournament. The corporate scientists redoubled their efforts to program Sarah to become the ultimate fighting machine, with the directive of killing her brother Jackie in the second World Fighting Tournament. However, during the second tournament, Jackie succeeded in rescuing Sarah from J6, but the trauma of overriding her programming caused her memories to be wiped away. With no memory of Jackie or her life previous to the torture she endured by J6, Sarah decides to seclude herself from family by moving to New York and focusing on her martial arts training. As her training intensified, she discovered that snapshots of her past began to unlock themselves from her subconscious. Encouraged by this, Sarah decides to enter the third World Fighting Tournament in hopes of facing fighters strong enough to help her recover her past memories. Her plan was a success. However, uncovering her past life was somewhat more than what she had bargained for. At first, she was elated at being reunited with her brother Jackie, who she loves dearly. But, as life began to return to normal, she found herself trying to hide the fact that she was no longer the same Sarah that existed before being kidnapped by J6. Not only could she remember everything prior to her kidnapping, but she could also remember everything that happened to her during J6's sadistic experiments that had turned Sarah into a cold-blooded killer with the goal of assassinating her own brother. Though no longer directly under J6's control, she discovered that a part of herself still wanted to attack Jackie with ruthless abandon. Racked with guilt over these contradictory feelings within herself, she began to become uncertain how much of her efforts to kill Jackie were the product of J6's programming and how much were really her own desires. When she learned that her brother had entered the fourth World Fighting Tournament, she could not resist the chance to enter the tournament with the goal of defeating Jackie in order to settle things once and for all. During the fourth tournament, it was discovered that J6 continued to have sinister motives for Sarah and were waiting for an opportunity to exploit her unbalanced psychological and emotional state. When this information was shared with Vanessa Lewis, member of the Bryant Special Forces, she offered to protect Sarah from behind the scenes by infiltrating the J6 organization herself. However, Vanessa disappeared right in the middle of the tournament. These developments prevented Sarah from being able to engage in a fight with Jackie to her personal satisfaction, as the focus turned to the rescue and extraction of Vanessa from the clutches of J6. She seethed with hatred for the Syndicate because of what they made her do to her brother, and for casting a dark shadow over her life and making her doubt who she is as a person. Though she still cares deeply for Jackie, the intense need to face him in combat remains. When she learned that Jackie has been secretly training for the 5th World Fighting Tournament in order to take out J6 once and for all, Sarah too decides to enter, believing that finally surpassing her brother is the only way to truly bring peace to her past. However, this plays perfectly into the hands of the J6 Syndicate and places her in more danger than ever before. Will they succeed in turning Sarah into the beast that they desire?
My name is Sarah Bryant. There was a time when I was brainwashed by Judgment 6 to kill my own brother. My brother was able to save me, but sometimes I can still feel what that was like. Feeling my frustration at that helplessness, I regained my sense of self through fighting. Take another look at yourself and see just how important such resolve is to you.
Sarah Bryant is a fast striker that utilizes quick attacks to create strings of combos that decimate her opponents. Though she was originally classified as a practitioner of Jeet Kune Do, since Virtua Fighter 4, she has incorporated elements of Savate, Taekwondo, and Karate to the point that her style is now referred to by the general title of martial arts. She has her own version of her brother's somersault kick, which, while perhaps somewhat less powerful, is deadly nonetheless. She is capable of performing some formidable grappling attacks, and her special flamingo stance allows her to expand her repertoire of kicks. She utilizes a stance in which she performs nimble steps and fake-outs that make her very difficult to counter against. However, one of her most iconic and devastating attacks is that of the rising knee.
One smash from the rising knee is all it takes.
With her dark history and unparalleled skill set, it is obvious that Sarah Bryant brings much more to the table than simple sex appeal and fan service. In fact, she may potentially be the most powerful Virtua Fighter character of all.
You'll never be a match for me.
That's going to be it for Sarah Bryant and this entry of Virtua Fighter lore. I really enjoyed making this video as I personally think that Sarah is one of the coolest characters in the Virtua Fighter series. If you've been waiting patiently for this installment, thank you for sticking around and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more entries in the Virtua Fighter lore series, please let me know by leaving a like or a comment on what Virtua Fighter character you would like to see next. Happy holidays, my friends. Please be safe and take care until I see you again in the next video.